There we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm just giving the webinar room a few minutes to fill up so we can shoot the breeze and talk about the weather. I'll do proper introductions later, so we're just for now letting people fill up the room. But I can tell you that the sun is coming out in Joburg. Greg can concur. See what I did there? Marco, there's some confusion about where in the world he actually is, but it's warm enough for him to wear shorts. TK, I actually didn't get a weather report from you. Are you based in Joburg as well, or are you?
I am, Rimsig. The sun is out, but it's so cold.
Awesome. Yeah, there's this little chilly wind that's just biting through everything. So welcome everybody to the CHRO South Africa webinar on total workforce management. We're just giving a few more minutes for a few more seconds for the room to fill up. Don't worry, I won't talk nonsense for minutes. we will stop eventually. So welcome. It's good to have you here. What you can do is oh, Sangula, you've joined us as Joel. Leave immediately. What you can do is you can pop your name and the company you're from in the chat and just give us a little intro to say hi. It's always good to know who we have in the audience. Okay, I can see that the room has filled up nicely. So I'm going to now launch into the official welcome and introduction. Hold on a second. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Georgina Geddes. I'm the editor-in-chief of CHRO South Africa. Welcome to this HR Indaba Network webinar brought to you in partnership with SAP Concur. Today, we're going to be talking about total workforce management. Employees are the greatest asset for every organization and typically the most expensive to replace. One of the ways to ensure job efficiency and satisfaction is through access to the right applications at the right time. This can have a limitless impact on your employees' experience, keeping them happy, productive, and focused on value-added responsibilities. With the pandemic in full swing and continuity being top of mind, one of the key challenges HR leaders face is the need to enable a digital workforce with the right tools to foster a better employee experience. Let me introduce Marco Dal Moro, lead for SAP Concur in the Center of Excellence. He'll be talking about how providing state-of-the-art systems and best practice processes for managing travel experience, expense reimbursement, purchasing card reconciliation, and invoice payment will help you keep your employees engaged and satisfied. I'm not handing over to you just yet, but everybody please say hi to Marco. Then next up, we'll have Greg Cubitt, SAP Concur Regional Solution Consultant, who will talk about SAP Concur's integration with SuccessFactors and do a quick demo for us. And then finally, we'll move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar, where these experts will be joined by TK Mchali, Regional Sales Executive for SAP Concur, to answer any questions you have on total workforce management. Please keep your questions coming in the chat and we will answer them when we get to the final 15 minutes. Without any further ado, let's hand over to Marco. Greg and TK, let's go off video. But if for any reason you see something cool you'd like to chip in on, you're welcome to barge back in and come on camera and let us know. Over to you, Marco.
Hi, everybody. So let me share my screen. 1 second. Please, I just want a quick confirmation that my screen is correctly showing the presentation.
We can see it. It's looking good.
Hi, my name is Marco Dal Moro. Contrary to what the image makes you believe, I'm not in Miami. I actually am from Barcelona, here in Spain. And I work in the Center of Excellence for SAP Concur. So today we're going to talk about total workforce management. Let me introduce this topic. And for the ones of you who are in Johannesburg, I'm sorry, I was just mesmerized by this Cape Town picture. It's no rivalry on my side, absolutely. So the first thing is today, what is very important to notice that today it is more important than ever for business to attract and retain the best talent. And mainly because mobility is it has never been so high as it is today. So with only one chance to make a first impression, experience matters. So HR knows, you guys in HR, you know better than anyone that one of the most important point of human capital management are processes like employee hiring and employee safety. So when you have the ability to drive productivity from the very beginning, of the employee journey, you are making an impression that lasts. And so what we're trying to say here is that there is a way to transform your business by increasing efficiency, by delivering duty of care, by promoting user satisfaction, and by boosting employee engagement, revolutionizing, therefore, the travel and expense process right off the gate. So what are the challenges for a CHRO? So CHROs face they face constantly a lot of pressure to manage the workforce, from recruiting to onboarding to retirement and attrition. So those are just broad stroke, but challenges also include the satisfying of duty of care compliance, which more and more is becoming mandatory, whether it is for mere competition with companies that have it, or sometimes even inscripted into law. Or, for example, dealing with low satisfaction with current T&E solutions, and for that matter, complicated T&E process that non-employees, like candidates and consultants, they have to go through, even them. But not having a mobile app-based system is also a hindrance. For example, manual and paper-based process, therefore leading to low productivity of back office employee, or spending too much time on filling expense reports, something that's necessary for the business, but not for the core of the employee job. Another aspect is lengthy reimbursement claim cycle. And we're all familiar with that, because whether you work in HR or in any other department, you still have to go through that when you are the employee traveling. And that is very disenfranchising. Also, low flexibility in booking for employees. So this is leading to a lot of out of policy, to a lot of scattered booking that you can control and you can count and you don't have visibility about. So how do organizations provide guidance and oversight during purchase? And how do they gain the visibility they need across spending without having timely integrated analytics to keep track of them? And so you need a solution that, first of all, improves employee experience. And it does so by leveraging top-rated mobile apps, intuitive tools, and easy-to-navigate spend policies to improve employee satisfaction with your travel and expense processes. Not only that, but the second pillar we're going to touch today is about employee engagement. And so employee engagement, what it's all about is to improve the employee productivity and keep them focused on their job by eliminating unnecessary paperwork and automating manual tasks. I just have an example here from my life here. And I remember when I was working for a former company, which I'm not going to name, everything was done at best with a template from Excel. But what was shocking was the visual dilemma, predicament of an employee that was coming back from a journey. It had like a Roman mosaic of receipt, tax receipt, restaurant receipt, and they were all down there, and you had to photocopy each one in an A4 paper individually. Therefore, then we need to store or send to the headquarters like a kilogram envelope with all the receipt that were being processed in not less than 2 months. And of course, we had to anticipate the money. So the whole overall process, beside consuming time, was unnerving for everybody, to the point that some people didn't want to make journeys at that point. So the third pillar is help you fulfill the duty of care. And we talked about it a second ago. So this reduces the risk and increase the well-being of your employee by locating, communicating, and assisting them during emergency, which is something that 10 years ago, it would have been reserved to CEOs, because the logistic wasn't there, the software wasn't there, and you can imagine how difficult it would have been unless there's a bodyguard next to the person. Today, there are a lot of interesting tools with prediction, with preemptive knowledge, and even with assisting during the emergency. All right, so let's talk about the first pillar, support the needs of your business and business travelers. So these are, what is important here is that you need to drive the digital work processes globally to get a full view of travel data. And this is very important because 67% of executive stakeholders consider leveraging data in order to maximize their negotiating power with vendors. And being able to get those negotiated rates, even if bookings done directly with the supplier. And I'm pretty sure Greg is going to touch this. We have ways to capture what would normally be out of policy and drag it magically into policy by therefore capturing an incredible amount of all the booking. And a typical example of this is there was a customer and actually it was in Barcelona. And this customer didn't even realize how many people were privately using the airport parking service. But when you go there and you're one ant instead of an army of ants, then you go into the private parking of, the individual parking for private citizen, and then you pay full price. So once they realize and they capture all of this, they were able to negotiate a company price because they were able to prove those numbers finally to the airport, therefore negotiating and obtaining the right deserved discount. And another example is create the connected experience for your business travel. And so this is also very important. In fact, 84% of business leaders rate employee experience as an important factor. Using technology to book, get real-time updates, and submit expense claims makes business travel easier and allow employees to focus on what really matters, right? And last but not least, support travel all over the world. And the percentage here that is interesting is that 42% of organizations don't have the resources to assist employees in an emergency. And it's not very far ago that all you could do is try to phone the mobile phone, and that was the end of it. So the struggle is real, and you need to focus on employee well-being and make sure the more productive and they can. All right, so let's talk about this first pillar about the employee experience. 64% of organizations say employee experience is one of the most important factors considering purchasing technology. Now, this is quite important, and we're going to see what are the problem with this and what are the solution to this. Now, when it comes to the challenges, creating a positive employee experience is hard. Challenges include, for example, the fact that we all have that we are all on the go in work and in life, and you can't really afford to be tied to your desk, and even opening a laptop and finding a safe network is a hassle. Now, even if your tools are good, navigating policy is very hard, and the more stringent they are and the more complicated and cumbersome they are, the more you're going to expect out of policy. And then you're going to force the employee, and that it's an arm, and the employees aren't going to be happy because of the forcing. And it's a problem that is a lose-lose when you don't have a solution that automatically involves the policy into the processes. And so even if your tools are good, so I was saying navigating process, but the problem with the limited choice of brand to book is also that you don't have the flexibility. And this, as I was talking about before, will lead even further out of policy. So another aspect is a time-consuming reimbursement process are always a drag on the employee moral, and they're always a drag on the AP personnel. So all too often, tools are complex and are hard to use. Yeah, tell me about it. I told you the story of the first process when I was in that company. I couldn't believe it myself. And last but not least, having no visibility into claim status, it is frustrating. Why? Because you're going to end up in the typical scenario where you very, very promisingly set the budget for T&E at the beginning of the year, and guess what? Comes July, because you had no visibility and no being able to control anything. You have to issue a travel freeze because guess what? You completely busted the budget. And this is due to not having visibility in real time to everything that happens in the T&E processes. So clearly, with those challenges, the solutions are clear. You need a solution that gives employee one of the most liked, top-rated application in the industry, that has policy guidance built in. I was saying this before. And you can also give the employee the flexibility to book with brands they already love, because guess what? We're all gonna like to get those miles from the airlines that we love. And giving you the visibility and negotiation power by capturing those seemingly out of policy within policy. Plus, employees will enjoy a super fast reimbursement. I am witness to this. 95% of the time, within 3 days, I was reimbursed. And if there was an escalation on a particular item, it was solved very quickly. And so the whole process it was never a headache for me as a user, I'm saying, of SAP Concur. So that's simple and a solution that's simple and intuitive to use. Believe it or not, I didn't even need to go through any training. I asked a couple of things on the web interface, but when it comes to the application on the phone, hell, it was super easy for me. And while easily tracking their claim status and know exactly what they are in the process, and this is exactly the real-time visibility that you have. Now, the second pillar is about employee engagement, and so companies with the most engaged employees enjoy 81% higher customer satisfaction. And this is really important because an engaged employee will absolutely have a trigger effect on your very customers. So what is important to notice here about the challenges is that employee engagement has a lot to do to how well we as an organization can remove barriers that are cumbersome and confusing processes. And so, but there are challenges that make it hard to create engaging experiences. For instance, when complex financial reporting and data are in different systems, it can require a lot of manual processes and a lot of time gets wasted. And it's also a pain to spend a lot of time, as I was saying, fielding the same questions over and over again. On the user side, manual filing expense reports is a drag, and for managers, approving can also be a bottleneck. So paper-based processes in general, I'm a witness here, are inefficient and slow. And they're also prone to generate a lot of errors. So for travelers, it is difficult to and time-consuming processes. They make it very hard to adhere to policy. And I have to agree here because I was the first one that was tempted to go out of policy and just use my own app on my own company to book the flight and things like that. And so figuring out mileage reimbursement involves a lot of guesswork. And so fortunately, there are digital solutions that SAP can help you with. So integrate your other system to make it easier to report, have intuitive, guided, and transparent processes to help users, leverage intelligent technologies because we have machine learning scenario built in, and so automate processes and reduce manual tasks. So are in the cloud, what means is that our solutions are fully digital to be in the cloud. And so it provides simple and easy to use booking tools with built-in policy guidance. And so one of the points that was more interesting is that it gives driver GPS-based and automated mileage claims that provide accurate documentation to trips. Well, this is a fantastic point that I like to make when I explain the value proposition of Concur, because I have witnessed with some clients very, very strange scenario where they thought mileage claims were okay. And then they realized once implementing Concur that they lost a ton of money with something that from the point of view of the employee is something very innocent, which is rounding up a mileage. Hell, even in my mind, it doesn't seem like the end of the world. But at the end of the day, with a lot of mileage claims, this builds up a lot. But because it doesn't seem the end of the world for the employee, then the arm wrestles with HR that is forcing or criminalizing that. It seems like unfair retribution. And so this is another one of those lose-lose scenario where HR has to enforce these policies, but also they have to look out for the well-being and employee engagement. And so it's a conundrum. And so the beauty of SAP Concur is that you solve this by implementing the mileage calculation well within the application. And what I discovered looking into this solution is that, and I'm pretty sure Greg will kind of show you that, is that it can be set to calculate every single drive you have with the car, and then later on you choose which ones belong to the company. Because if it was me, I would never remember to click start on a mileage claim. I would finish the journey and I was like, oh man, this was a business trip. So the app by SAP Concur got you covered there too. And that's the beauty of it. It's built in. It doesn't have to go against any one of the two parties. And so the third pillar here is the duty of care. And so 50% of organizations say the ability to make duty of care responsibilities is hindered by their current travel and expense tools. And I know that, and I know because I've been in companies where when something happened, I mean, granted, it was just a minor situations with a protest in a square, but they had no idea who were where and how to reach them. And if they had to reach them and tell them to go where, because they don't even know where the situation is evolving. So why do you even decide, are you okay? How can you even contact them and be of benefit? So this is a very, very big problem for companies. And so managing duty of care is not easy. And in the past, it's been limited to key employees only. But with duty of care extends to all employees these days. And traveling employees, they are of greater concern. So the challenges here is that you lack a system with track location of travelers. And in SAP Concur, we do have. You have no real-time information on events, and then experienced difficulty communicating in times of emergency. It's another big problem. And no easy way to physically assist the employee in need. So the solution needs to be actively monitor the employee on the move. It gives your near-time event updates and monitor situation of the employee location, and help you contact your affected employees through mobile app and mobile app-based messaging. And this is also very important, and can offer assistance and physical support when required. So let's talk about a little bit how SAP Concur fits into the SAP portfolio. So SAP solution help you reach across the traditional disconnected spending categories and system. So you can manage to see all spending in one place. And so what we're trying to do is to replace rigid multi-step workflows and to really make the focus on the employee and on the user by introducing end-to-end process. And they're able to really make the experience one and have the complete visibility when it comes to spending. And so you can view cash balances, liquidity forecast in real time, run what-if scenario on real data and in the moment, and understand cash requirement in an instant. And so this is a game-changing compared to the previous completely siloed framework that we used to have in the IT landscapes. But let me tell you about what we call in SAP the SAP Digital Enterprise. So what you see here is an IT stack in which, of course, we have the infrastructure and we have the flexibility of having our data center and hyperscaler as well. But we also have a technology layer with the business technology platform and the intelligence suite, which obviously revolves around S/4HANA. But what really is the process above that? It's the process that is the layer, the abstraction layer above that revolves around the business process. And these layers, these processes, they really are solution agnostic for which means the process, and we're talking about here recruit to retire in our case, it really spans across different solutions without hindering the user and make it a complete nightmare made of jumping from silo to silo and obeying draconian rule of a solution or another solution with manual transference of data. This is not really the case. And I can show you here an example of recruit to retire. If we zoom in a little bit on this, we can see that our solution portfolio, it really helps. And I know you can see Concur in the work and in the travel phase, but let's be honest, the majority of the employee plan, staff on board, and pay and close, they should be minimal in terms of time. We want to have work and travel the majority of the lifespan, between quotations, of our employee. And so that's why SAP Concur has so much big of an impact in the existence of the employee within the company. But let me just show you a little bit this jumping from process to process, what it involves. Now, all these slides were going to be given to you, so don't worry, you don't need to take a screenshot. And we're not going to go very deep into this process, but it's just to give you a bird's eye view of what I'm talking about. And so in the planning phase, you can see that we go into big bird's eye view overview solution like SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAP Concur, S/4HANA. And then we have the staffing. Of course, we're talking about success factors or field glass for temporary workforce, external workforce in that case. But then we go for the onboarding phase and the working phase. You can see that the process is constantly moving from a solution to another one, assisting to having a one flavor experience to the user. And then, of course, we have the paying process and the closing process. So this all is called recruit to retire. And our native integration, and I'm pretty sure Greg is going to have a word about native integration, is going to assist the process to be seamless. So if we need to recap a little bit, what we're talking about here with SAP Concur solution, you can improve employee experience by leveraging top-rated app, intuitive tools, and easy to navigate spend policies to improve employee satisfaction with your T&E process, and are making sure that employees are happier and retained and productive. But the other aspect that we're talking about is employee engagement. And so keeping employee focused on the job, eliminating unnecessary paperwork and automating manual tasks, giving employee the gift of time so they can focus on what really matters is really making a change. And the third pillar that we were talking about is to fulfill duty of care. And you can reduce risk while increasing the well-being of your employees by locating, communicating, and assisting them in terms of emergency. All right, so what we're talking about today is just, I want to change the framework very quickly. And this used to be the framework of our solution portfolio. It was talking about travel and expense and invoice. It's not that we're not there, but I want to show you how we want to frame it today. And so the entire journey is now revolves about spend enablement, settlement, guidance, oversight, and control. And so what this means is a spend enablement. We want to make sure that we're enabling spending. We're not saying enabling spending by saying, please spend more, but we're enabling spending, especially in situations that are not predictable, like this pandemic, where an employee is stuck at home and needs to be able to spend in certain ways to be productive. And so SAP Concur is there to be sure that this spending enablement means making sure all the spending that has to be done is absolutely within policy by design. The other aspect is settlement, because no company out there has as KPI the creation and completion of a claim, of an expense claim. That is not a KPI. The real KPI is the entire arc of the spending, which the apogee might be the expense report creation and submittance, but the conclusion is the important KPI, and that is the settlement. Only then the company can turn page. And so this is why we focus the entire arc of the process. And the third aspect is guidance, oversight, and control. We're going to guide the correct spending. We're going to guide to stay the process within policy. We can have oversight and visibility throughout the entire end-to-end process, not just after the fact and then realize we destroyed the budget, but even before it actually happens. And then control. Being able to have that gives us control and gives us better budget creation, better saving, and being able also, now when we have visibility and guidance, to negotiate better prices with the company that our employees have to spend their money on. And this is just a little bit of an overview with the names of the solutions that we have. Don't worry, this will be all with you. And now let me conclude all this with just 3 minutes of our real end-to-end video that we have created for you.
In today's fast-paced and unpredictable world, change is constant. Business practice, tax and legal regulations are continuously evolving on a global scale. Capturing employee spend while staying compliant across borders and ensuring the safety and well-being of your employees is a significant business challenge. Now more than ever, visibility of data matters most. What if you could overcome these challenges and have end-to-end visibility of data from business planning to reimbursement in near real time to allow you to optimize and scale your spend so that you can adapt and respond to change in a responsible and sustainable way while improving your employees' experience? From planning and booking travel through to managing expenses, SAP Concur solutions help your employees stay productive, offering an automated and seamless experience that enables your business to remain efficient and compliant, while driving long-term growth and boosting employee satisfaction. SAP Concur solutions provide visibility into carbon emission reports, plus a breakdown of top destinations and suppliers, so that you can measure your current environmental impact and take necessary actions to reduce it, and guide your employees to make responsible choices. Wherever your employees are, from their mobile phone, they can benefit from our partner ecosystem, while the e-invoice flows securely into Concur Expense to create an expense item automatically. SAP Concur solutions remove barriers that slow you down, providing an integrated end-to-end travel and expense experience that helps finance teams forget about manual checks and leads to accurate and faster reimbursement while staying compliant. With the SAP S/4HANA Cloud integration with SAP Concur solutions, you get up-to-date and near real-time analytics. The seamless data integration offers a full visibility of your budgets so that you can make more focused and confident business decisions to drive better outcomes across all parts of your business. Bringing all this information into your digital core turns your reporting into predictive analytics with smart insights where you can see what you spend and what you could save. Allocate costs and deliver real-time financial accuracy to see spending clearly and manage it proactively from planning to reporting. With SAP Concur solutions, you'll move beyond yesterday's tedious tasks to keep your business running at its best every day.
Yeah, I just want to say that the image that we see there with the lady that was pointing towards the end, those are actually screens of SAP Analytics Cloud. So all this spending trickles down and is integrated into one view. All right, so with this, I pass the word to Georgina, I guess.
Hi, Marco. Yes, that's me. Thank you for the presentation. Very insightful. And I've seen that there are some lovely questions coming through in the chat, which we'll get to at the Q&A at the end. So thanks everyone who's been posting so far. Now we're going to hand over to Greg, who's going to talk about integrations and I think a quick demo. So over to you, Greg, and we'll pop off camera.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Can you just confirm that you can indeed see it?
We can, yes, all clear.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so without any further ado, so as mentioned, I'm going to just talk briefly about Concur integrating with SuccessFactors. It's not a technical discussion. I'm going to keep it very high level. So I do have a bit of a technical diagram here, but that's just basically my intro screen. So Concur, it's not a standalone application. It works in partnership with other solutions you may have. Importantly, whatever you're using for your HCM system, and also whatever you're using for your financial system. Now, in the context of today's discussion, as the scene was set by Marco, I'm going to just mention integration with SAP's SuccessFactors, which is its HCM solution. Now, Concur integrates with SuccessFactors, and why is this important? So a number of points I have here, and Marco has touched on these a number of times already. So firstly, just to improve the employee experience. So being able to leverage top-rated mobile applications that are easy to navigate and use. Also increasing your employee engagement. So, keeping your employees focused on their job and ultimately improving their productivity. And then ultimately just keeping the process simple. Marco mentioned it as an example, his previous place of employment with the Excel spreadsheet that needed to be completed and generating a large envelope filled with documents. It just seems so out of place in today's context. Creating a travel booking, creating employee expenses, that is not a person's job. It may be a part of it, but it's not actually what they get paid to do. So it should be something that is quick and easy to do. And I really like the statement that Marco used, the employees the gift of time. I really like that, and I think I'm going to use that going forward, Marco. So why does Concur integrate with SuccessFactors? So SuccessFactors would be your master data source for all your employee information. So this information can propagate or integrate into Concur. And this is very important, firstly, because your employees that are, whose details are stored in your SuccessFactors, they would ultimately be users within the Concur system. So, we need to transfer that information. So new joiners to the organization would be created as new users within Concur. People who leave the organization would be terminated within Concur. And also, as it happens, people can remain within the organization, but they can change their job. They can get promoted, they can move to different departments, their managers can change, and ultimately any and all changes related to their job needs to be updated within their Concur profile. Cost centers, line manager approval, that type of thing. And then last but not least, already mentioned by Marco, is that it doesn't need to be a manual process. This needs to be automated. And obviously that would be the expectation, and that is the case. So as changes happen on your employee master data system, your SuccessFactors, so these changes propagate automatically and seamlessly to the Concur environment. Now, Marco did mention it, in terms of policy enforcement. So your policies around your corporate travel policy and your corporate expense policy, these are replicated and configured within Concur itself. And ultimately, what the intent is, as users are using the Concur application to either book travel or submit employee expenses, they are only able to do what your policy entitles them to do. Now, policies are not just a simple case of you can only claim the following expenses. It can go to a much deeper level. It could be, for example, spend limits on specific expense types that are related to their grade level. They could have, as part of the travel profile, they could fly different classes of airline depending on their grade level within the organization as well. So your policy can be dependent on certain metrics within the employee profile. So this is why it's so important to be able to get this employee master data out of your SuccessFactors system. So I've mentioned now in terms of travel profile information, so class of service they're entitled to book. So this would be not just, economy class or business class on an airline, but maybe the upper limit of a room rate at a hotel, or what number of stars hotel they can stay at. And this can also affect the approval hierarchy as well. So maybe a low-level employee might need to get 2 or 3 levels of approval for a travel booking, whereas a more senior or executive level employee, maybe only 1 level of employee, or 1 level of approval, or maybe no approval is required for them if they're senior enough. Also, profile information related to the expense policy. I've given an example already. So the approval hierarchy information can be predicated upon grade level and that type of thing within the employee profile. Role within the organization or their grade level can affect other things such as the spend limits they are entitled to. So upper limits of spend per individual type of expense type can be affected by that. Another example would be per diem rates. So they're going on an out-of-town business trip and they are entitled to a daily rate per diem amount, which again can be predicated upon their grade level within the organization. As well as things like attendee data. So if they are doing any entertainment and they have an entertainment allowance and they need to add attendee information, for example, they take their team out to a team lunch, but the policy dictates they need to capture the attendees that were at this lunch. They can do so if this information is within the Concur environment as well as delegate information. So this would be senior level people within the organization who are delegating travel bookings or expense capture to their personal assistants, for example. So they are delegating this. Again, that delegate information would need to be within the Concur environment as well. So very important. And as you can see by these examples here, this relates to that policy enforcement. You can have policies that will be triggered off criteria that comes from the employee information. So very quick, very high level. Like I said, it was not a technical discussion at all. So just to recap then, so the why is this important? So again, just talking about these pillars that Marco has referred to. So improving the employee experience, keeping your employees engaged so they can focus on their job and drive productivity, keeping it simple. I'm going to do a quick demo for you now, and you'll see that the solution is quite intuitive, and you don't really need any training to be able to just jump in and use it. So yeah, on that note, let me do a quick demo for you. So let me switch to my screen here. So There are two user interfaces into Concur. One is the desktop interface, which it's not any standalone software, it just runs in a browser. You would have seen a few screenshots on that video that Marco played. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rather do a demo on my mobile device. Now, the reason for that is because I think most people would probably use the mobile app. Many millennials will definitely. You'll see, because you can use it on the go, you can use it while you're actually traveling as well. It is very quick and easy to use. Now, there's a lot of features and functionalities that I can demo, but we don't have enough time for that. So I'm just going to do two simple processes here. Firstly, I've got two expense claims that I want to submit so I can be reimbursed. They're both for, one's for just a quick lunch, and one is for a coffee. I've already captured the one into my profile, so I'm just going to capture the other one quickly. I'm going to add both to an expense claim and submit it. So I've got my mobile app open there, and you can see at the bottom of the screen, I've got a little camera icon that says expense it. If I click that, it will launch the camera application. And here are my two expense receipts, and the one on the left is the one I want to capture. So I'll just snap a photo of it using the application. Concur will now identify what the total value of this expense receipt is, and it is correct. So I will just confirm that and say done. It will now upload this into my profile, and it's currently analyzing, which means it is using OCR technology to extract all the other information of that receipt. So the currency, the date, the vendor, and also the expense type. It'll only take a couple seconds. There we go. We can see it's finished. So I've got these two lunch expense receipts in my profile now. I want to submit them to be onto an expense claim to be reimbursed. I select the tick box. I select both of them, and I'll say move to new expense claim. I'll just give this one a name, lunches. And I have an expense claim with those two expenses on it. You can see the total value here. And immediately at this point in time, these expenses will be checked against corporate policy. Now, there's no red flags here because I'm obviously a very good corporate citizen. I'm not trying to bend the rules. Everything is above board here. You can see there are the two receipts related to, there we go, there's the one, there's the other, and here are the actual expense line items here. At this point, I can do an allocation to a different cost center, to multiple cost centers, but this is just for my cost center's expense. There's nothing that needs my attention in terms of non-policy. I'm going to go ahead and say submit. As simple as that. That has now been submitted, and you can see it's pending approval. It's been routed to my line manager for review and approval. Simple. No filling in of spreadsheets. There was a lot of automation in terms of creating the line item based off the receipt photo I took. Done and dusted in a minute. Now, there's one more thing I want to do before I end off is I actually have a business trip next month in Cape Town. So I need to book flights and accommodation for that trip. It is in the first week of next month. So again, bottom left, you can see a little suitcase icon this time that says book. So I'm going to select that. Let's start off by booking a flight. So select the flight. It's remember the last city pairs that I used, which is Joburg to Cape Town. I'm going to keep it on round trip, but let's change the dates. It is actually next month. I said it's the first week of next month. So Monday the 1st, and you can see I can select the time as well. 8 o'clock sounds good to me. And I am returning the next day on Tuesday, and it's defaulted to 6 p.m. That's good for me. So let's leave it at that. So there are my search parameters. I'm happy with that. Click the search button. So Concur is now accessing global distribution system content and returning results that firstly match my search parameters, and secondly, match my corporate travel policy that has been configured. So I'm not going to see anything I'm not entitled to actually book. So you can see there's a lot of options here, and it's just in the interest of time. I'm not going to step through each one and look at the different options and times and things. Let's just quickly take a look at British Airways here. And there's quite a few options here. I'm going to go with that first option, and I can see there is an exclamation mark on this one already. So I'm going to select it, and it is telling me that this particular flight is more than 10% more expensive than the cheapest option. So now this is part of the policy that has been configured by my organization, and it wants me to select the cheapest option. And if I don't, it wants me to provide a reason why I have not done so. So there are a whole lot of predefined reasons here. And I'm going to select the 1/3 from the bottom here, or 4th from the bottom, due to time preferences. So maybe the other ones are far too early in the morning, or they arrive too early in Cape Town for my meeting. So I'm going to go with this one, say reserve. It will be now added to my itinerary. The next thing I need to do is just quickly book accommodation. So again, we'll just do that relatively quickly. Okay, you can see just in the background, slightly grayed out is my itinerary as it stands now. Let's add a hotel to that. Okay, my phone is hanging, it would appear. Yeah, my phone is hanging. Can't click back, can't select anything here. Oh no. Okay, let's just try one more time. Okay, let's try again. So hotel booking. So normally it would populate the destination and the check-in and check-out dates based on the flights I've just booked. But since it was hanging, let me just select that. So we'll just select Cape Town again. And the check-in and check-out date was the Monday to the 2nd. You can see I can also select a distance from that geographical location of the airport that I selected. I'm going to go ahead and say search. Again, it's filtering it based on what I'm entitled to based on my configured travel policy. So I'm not going to see anything I'm not entitled to book or is out of policy. You can see, as expected, there's quite a lot of options here. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to investigate each one. I'm just going to say filter, and let's just say Hilton Hotel. I want to stay in the Hilton Hotel. Let's see if that is allowed. There we go. It is. It's within policy. It's now going to show me room options for that particular hotel. And these are the different room rates I'm entitled to. I'm going to select the cheapest one here. I can, of course, look at all the other amenities available, look at photos of the premises, but just in the interest of time, I'm just going to say reserve room here. So in just a couple minutes, I have booked 2 flights, an outbound and return flight, and hotel accommodation for my stay in Cape Town. So you'll see now my itinerary here is done and dusted. So what's actually happened in the background is obviously my manager would need to approve this. So just like that expense claim I submitted, this travel request now with the 2 flights and the hotel accommodation has actually now been routed to my manager as well for him to approve. So nothing is actually confirmed travel-wise, no costs have been incurred until my manager approves it. And once he does, then that trip booking is completed. And remember, it's taking policy into account as well as what I'm entitled to based on my grade level, job role, and those type of things, which is information which has been extracted from the internal success factor system that we use internally. Quick and easy, very simple and easy to use. I always use the example, my dad could do it, and he's not very good at technology, but it's very intuitive. Alrighty. I think we're going to probably move to some Q&A now.
Thanks so much, Greg. That was perfect timing because the world's noisiest helicopter just went overhead. So I could come back after it was done. Let's have Marco and TK back on screen so that we can tackle a couple of the questions that have come up in the chat. I think that Sean Clark asked, does Concur cater for non-travel related spend, such as office equipment for working from home, data, internet claims? Well, we have seen now from Greg's presentation that it does, but I'd like to know a little bit more about that. And especially, I was just thinking in this last year where we haven't traveled much, but we maybe needed office equipment from home. Have you seen a big swing in that curve from the one to the other?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously travel has taken a bit of a nosedive, but other type of expenses have picked up significantly. So a lot of organizations and employees are claiming, for example, home connectivity, internet connections, DSL, fiber, 3G, that type of thing. Some companies are also allowing employees to purchase office equipment such as desks and chairs and printers. But I mean, the short answer is absolutely. If it is an employee initiated expense, whether it's travel or non-travel related, Concur can cater to it.
And for the corporate limits, so for instance, we want you to be 10% under, only 10% above the cheapest flight or things like that. How easy are those to set for a completely new set of expenses? So desks, we're capping it at 3,000 Rand. So that's not a user experience. Well, it is a user, but it's the person setting it rather than the person using it. So how easy is that?
So it's very easy. I mean, I can go in and create a new rule around this very specific expense type, such as taxi fares. I could go into the system and basically create that in literally 2 minutes. Obviously, I know what I'm doing. I know my way around the solution. It's not something an end user would do. It's obviously more back office related, but it is driven through the graphical user interface. There's no programming or coding involved at all. It's very simple to do.
Okay, and that sort of ties into another question that I had for Marco, where Marco mentioned that he didn't have to do any training to get up to speed in using SAP Concur. So that's a wonderful thing, and I mean we've seen from Greg using it how usable it is. But what I wanted to know from Marco is, when you have a new client using your equipment, do you offer a training? How do they get trained into using the system?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yes, but I think DK can talk about this since he's more familiar with the offering. DK?
So, Georgina, I think the most important thing to note is that, with the way that Concur was designed, it was designed to reflect the kind of consumer experiences that our customers experience in their normal lives. So, I mean, you don't really need training for Netflix or Facebook or Twitter. So Concur was designed with that in mind. So the training that is required is I would say, absolutely minimal. Like Greg was saying, I mean, if his grandfather can do it, anybody can do it. With that being said, we do have sort of a knowledge base or a place where we share information in terms of if there are any specific issues or specific, FAQs that people might have.
Okay, perfect. And then Sean asked also, do I need to be an SAP customer or have SAP systems in place in order to use Concur? And then a similar questions come through in the chat, in the Q&A box, which says, can a company adopt SAP Concur while using a separate HCM system, for instance, Oracle, or can we only buy, is it possible to only buy Concur?
So good questions. And Concur is actually back-end ERP agnostic. So in terms of both the financial system and the HCM system, they do not have to be SAP related ERPs. They can be pretty much anything. As long as the back-end system is able to integrate and, exchange data, we can accommodate it. So you can have a combination of using SAP, S/4HANA for your financial, and Oracle for HCM, Workday. You can have a combination. Concur can use it. Yes, no problem.
Okay, that's great. We've come to the end of any questions that were available, and we've come to the top of the hour. So that's a good point to end off. Just a quick up and coming We have next webinar coming up on the 20th of October, Solving Succession from HFM Talent Index. So if you want to delve into that, please join us then. You can sign up by going to chro.co.za/events. All our events are listed there. So thank you very much to TK, Greg, Marco. It's been great to have you here. Thanks for all the information, and have a fantastic day, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Absolute pleasure. Goodbye.